record of a production that took place at Oaksfield Gymnasium. And Belgrave guesses that this was probably a production of the RAF officers and their wives. It was J.B. Priestley's Dangerous Corner, and the cast, as you can see there, Mrs. John Freeman, Flora Robinson, Flying Officer Murrell Wright, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Dr. H. Condon, Flight Lieutenant Ray Ellis, Mrs. Max Corbett, Miss Veronica McMahon. And this happened at what would have been then the air base. In the black community, we had John Taylor, who was what Belgrave calls the founder of indigenous Bahamian theater, because he was a playwright as well as a producer, 1924 to 2009, and he began to produce his material in the 1940s. In April 12th, 1943, there's the record of a play called Diana, a play of the Passion of Esther, written by John Taylor, which took place at 8:30 p.m. or 8:30 o'clock in St. Mary's schoolroom. And the players were Gwendolyn Taylor, now Higgs, Charlie Aubrey, Cyril Bowen, and Carl Bethel. Taylor then went off to pursue dramatic studies at Columbia, but he switched to theology. And his plays, as you can see there, this is a list of the plays that Belgrave, I think she got him from Father Taylor himself. And the people who acted with him included Margaret Demerit. Oh, okay, I put everything together, all the players together. So those at the front would have been the ones who took part in his first play, or the first recorded play, and you can read the other names. So, Skibo is laughing.
My name
it ain't there?
I did 4.
And you were in it?
4 of them.
Excuse me, don't blame me, blame the book. Gwendolyn Taylor, Charlie Aubrey, Cyril Bowen, Carl Bethel, Margaret Demerit, then MacDonald, or becoming MacDonald, Oscar Smith, Kenneth Seymour, Arthur Wells, Bertha Pinder, Veronica Pinder, Sybil Beckford, Calvin Cooper, P. Anthony White, Basil O'Brien, Joseph Hollingsworth, Earl Boleg. You can read them all, and Anthony Skibo Roberts. And then at the end of the 1940s, Dr. F.G. Bolton Smith left the Bahamas, which meant that the activities of the Little Theatre waned. Now, some of you will probably also remember, and will no doubt be able to share with the group here, that there were also a number of visiting productions that started to come in around that time. Plays that were being produced as far as Florida would come to the Bahamas on tour, and they took place at the British Colonial Playhouse. But I skipped that out because I had to cut something. And I figured that there would be people here who could talk much better about that than me looking in Claire's book. So what happened was you began to get other groups coming out of the Little Theatre. And the first thing that was created was the Nassau Amateur Dramatic Society, which was a splinter group of the Little Theatre, founded by Veronica Higgs, members George Morley, Andrew McKinney, Leonie Weitzman, and Molly McKinney. 1950, the Nassau Players was formed. This was formed by Trevor Marshall, and you can see he met with Noah Plant, John Carson, Artie Pritchard, Mrs. G.V.E. Higgs, and Anthony von Kurtwell to restore the Nassau Amateur Dramatic Society, and then they renamed it the Nassau Players. Their first production in 1950 was Rope. Then by 1954, they amalgamated with the remainder of the Nassau Theatre Group, the Little Theatre, to create the Nassau Theatre Group, and produced the Quiet Weekend, which was really, I think, the only recorded play that they produced. So it doesn't seem as though that amalgamation lasted forever. Their repertoire was mainly British comedies and farces, but as they moved into the 1950s and the 1960s, they started to produce more dramas, heavy stuff. Like Schaffer, Shakespeare, Williams, Miller, Ibsen, Molière. Well, Molière would have been in the comedy side, and Sade. And again here, we're still dealing with the segregated, maybe a little bit of crossover theater. So you've got two parallel theaters going on, and Philip will put up a list of the players who would have been in the Nassau Players. I don't know if I'm going to read that. I'll just let you read that. This is taking us into the end of the 50s, and people who know Bahamian history will know that this was still part of the segregated era of the Bahamas. And so theater, like the rest of society, is also segregated. But in 1959, Trevor Marshall, together with Clive St. George, founded what they intended to be a mixed drama group, and it was called the Friends of the Bahamas Drama Club, FOB Drama Club. And the idea was to provide opportunities for anyone, regardless of ethnic origin. And the first production, and this had a mixed cast, was Shaw's Androcles and the Lion. Performed at Government House grounds, and the players are there for you to see. Skibo, did they miss you out again?
No, I wasn't in that.
Okay, just check. And they did a number of productions. It was not, it didn't seem to last for a long time, but they did a lot of productions. The Duke in Darkness in the Wintertime, The Rats, I Have Been Here Before, Orpheus and Eurydice, St. Joan, Light of the World. And these are not, simple, light, easy productions either. This was an ambitious group. And theater began to blossom around this time. I guess this is the time of the first wave of people who are going away to school and coming back. So then you have Basil Saunders, otherwise known, if you correct me if I'm wrong, but it's Baz Jazz, who came back and he created... No? Thank you. Okay, Basil Saunders.
Basil Saunders.
Thank you. You see? This is where age is helping you. Oh, thank you, Mummy. Okay. Anyway, Basil Saunders returned from abroad and organized the Literary Theatre Guild and worked with the St. Agnes Players. And he produced the first secular play written by P. Anthony White, who of course was working with St. Agnes Players. Did I miss the St. Agnes Players? Did I drop them out? No, I don't know if I did. Yes. Because I think Skibo's name might have been there, but... and then in 1959, Lady Arthur founded the Nassau Amateur Operatic Society. The first production was The Mikado at the Kirk Hall. You can see the players there. The choral director was Hilda Barrett. The conductor was Lady Arthur. So you can see that integration is happening. The OPSOC would last for about 50 years. And then we get into what Belgrave calls the third movement from 1961 to 1980. This starts, and this is focused a lot around the Dundas. Not entirely, but most of the activity is now beginning to happen around the Dundas. There's a story that says that in 1962, Meta Davis Cumberbatch, who was a character of her time, a Trinidadian classically trained pianist who came to the Bahamas with her husband, who was a doctor, traveled around the Bahamas, insisted on carrying her grand piano wherever she went, taught many young Bahamians piano, but also theater and dance. Apparently Mrs. Cumberbatch believed she was a dancer, and all kinds of things. And she was responsible for a lot of mischief and greatness at the same time. She walked apparently into the Dundas and went, oh, this would make a wonderful theater, and decided to create a stage for the Dundas. And that story was told by my father to Claire Belgrave. So she then established, she said, Festival of Arts, and established the Festival of Arts, which was responsible ultimately for me, through a roundabout and legitimate, I think, system of things. My mother was looking at me strangely. Yeah, she created this Festival of Arts, and the proceeds from the festival she used to construct the stage. The stage was designed by Donald Cartwright, one of the architects of the time. And the festival became a regular feature at the Dundas, and eventually spawned a drama festival in 1967. Out of this, or at the same time, you have the creation of the Bahama Drama Circle by Maquella Cartwright in 1964. This was to fill the void left by the FOB Drama Club, which, as I said, was prolific but short-lived. And then in 1965, the University of the West Indies established an extramural department under Hopeton Gordon. Now this was really interesting because what happened at that time